at you from the new Cayivision Podcast Studios in Stamford, Connecticut. Welcome to the Dialed In Podcast, episode 12. Hey, we're holding the mic so we can't clap as well. But we've gotten an upgrade, and we are here with special guests from Miller's Bio Farm. So we want to welcome in Marie and Aaron. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
So me and Mark have gone down this dialed in clean eating journey. I've been on it for about 8 months. He's been on it much longer than me. And he was the first one who introduced me to Miller's Bio Farm. So Mark, why don't you just start, tell this quick story about how you found out about them, and then we'll get into regenerative farming and a lot more about your farm.
Awesome. I came across your farm. I was always going to farms, trying to order from them, going to farmers markets, and then someone that I work with really close. I work really close with the movement stuff that I do. We're always sharing, try this farm, and then eventually he recommended. He's give it a shot because we like raw milk, and so he said try Miller's Bio Farm out. So then I ordered a lot of stuff. And just by what I noticed with I was telling you guys before, with the raw milk and then some of the meat, I just fell in love with everything, especially the eggs. And then I've been ordering from you ever since. And it's like a ritual every Sunday that I try not to forget. Yeah. There's nothing worse than when the Monday comes and I'm like, oh man, I forgot to order.
Got to get that order in before Sunday. You're going to have to wait 12 more days for your
But
food.
It's good that you order now, because it was a week ago. I forgot. I didn't order milk by accident, and my wife was like, "We're gonna run out of milk," and I'm like, "Nah, I'll just ask Paul. He probably has a gallon. If I need to, take a gallon from him, I'm sure he'll give me a gallon." But
I definitely wouldn't give him a whole gallon of the raw milk. No chance. Maybe a cup.
Pour an 8-ounce glass and put it in a to-go bottle. But yeah, I've been ordering from you ever since. I try to tell everybody about you guys. I love your stuff. I have a freezer stock full of all your products. And I look forward. It's the most exciting thing when I go downstairs into my basement and I open it up. I'm like, what am I going to make tonight? Yeah. But
we're big fans.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Also, Mark, so we do have subscriptions.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, just letting you know. And we call it, a lot of people, it's subscribe and save.
Yep.
Not at Miller's. We call it subscribe and never forget.
Yeah.
Because people, they really do. They get in trouble with their family when they forget to order milk.
Yep.
So,
Yeah. My wife's always like, don't forget. But I know, I always see the option too. I don't know why I don't just click on it and subscribe. I think I get nervous about that I'm not going to need certain things on that order. I'm going to need different things. Is there a solution to that? Or no?
There is. You can edit every single one, but then you might forget to edit it. But some people will be like, oh, I didn't need more butter. But stick it in your freezer. You'll use it eventually.
That's what I say. I'm just like, I'll just freeze it. 'Cause I'm going to use it.
So you have me and Mark, who are active customers, totally believe in what you guys do and want to share that with our audience. So why don't you just tell us a little bit more about what Miller's Bio Farm is and what you guys do?
Sure. You want to go, Aaron?
Go for it.
You want me to go? Okay. So Miller's, we are not one farm. It did start as one farm with Aaron and his wife, Rebecca, but we're more of a collection of very small Amish family farms that are local to us. All of them are probably within a 3-hour drive. You think that's about accurate?
Yes. The majority of them are within 30 minutes, but there's some that would be an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Yeah. And the reasoning for that is Miller's does not want to be one giant mega farm. We don't want to buy acres and hire farmers. We really want them to be family oriented and to have a connection with the land and the animals and have their children involved. And
it's probably more sustainable, I think, like that. Because we'll probably get into that, asking about that, but I think that's great. I feel like that's a much more sustainable way at growing and getting, your products, out to people.
It's actually involving more people, more families, more people. You can also work for a person, But being on your own with your own family is a little bit more exciting. Plus, we have a lot of 50-acre, anywhere from 20 to 100-acre farms, and it is a big challenge to expand.
Right. We don't have the 1,000-acre ranches that are out in the Midwest or somewhere like that. In our area, it's much smaller properties.
Yep.
I mean, we started off, with only 15 milking cows, some chickens, some pigs, and some beef.
Yep.
And that's a very good way to start, but it's expanded a lot.
Yeah. How many do you have now, you would say? In total that you're working with cows and...
Well, there's 3 herds.
Right now, it'd be around 150 milking, and then beef is like 100 a year at least.
Wow.
Pork is, I don't know, probably half of that, 60 to 80, somewhere in that range. Chicken is around 10 to 15,000. Layers, I don't know, 3,000 maybe, somewhere in those range.
Holy moly!
And it's amazing what's happening within the community right now. I see a lot more. There's a lot more demand for the 100% grass-fed milk, even if it's not always raw. There's a lot of farms transitioning right now, which is very exciting.
Yep.
Since we're on the topic of milk, I have no idea what A2 means. I buy it like I'm real happy about it, but could you just tell me what that classification?
I don't know what A2. I don't even know what that exactly is and how to get there. But I know one thing is our daughter Hannah had the A2 milk. Well, when she was a baby, Rebecca. I mean, we didn't have enough milk for her. I mean, Rebecca didn't have enough to breastfeed, so she made a formula. And we used A2. She was not happy first. Then we started using A2 milk, and she was happy. One day, she forgot to tell me to keep out A2 milk, so we got out of our bulk tank, which was not all A2. She was not happy. The next day, that evening, Rebecca got me to do A2 milk, and she mixed the formula, and she took it. After that, we decided, well, if we have this experience within our own family, there's a lot of other people that will too. So that's when we decided to make the full transition. We were already transitioning. I think Marie has more of the insights of...
You also noticed a difference in the calves too, right? When the calves were drinking 100% A2 milk.
You're right. They grew faster.
And they didn't have as, their manure changed, right?
They didn't have diarrhea as much.
Yeah. So scientifically, if we want to get into the science of it, people generally have 2 problems with milk for the most part. One could be lactose, which is milk sugar. The other one can be protein, the casein in the milk. So A2 has to do with the protein in the milk. Yeah. And some people just can't handle the A1 beta casein protein. There's A1 and there's A2. So what happened was a few thousand years ago in Europe, they were switching to our more modern methods of farming. They were moving cows into cities. They were moving them inside. They were feeding them like the byproduct of making whiskey, this swill from grain, right, from making whiskey. And these cows were stressed out. They were not healthy. And what do organisms often do when they're stressed? They mutate. So these cows had a genetic mutation in Europe, and it made them produce the new type of beta casein protein. I don't know why the new one is called A1 and the old one is called A2. We don't know. But they've started producing this new protein. Those cows made their way to the United States. Now, basically, all milk in the United States, if you get it, has a mix of A1 and A2.
Okay.
But some people can't handle that A1. Yeah. And they think, I just can't handle dairy. But once they try A2, they're like, I can drink milk again. And we have a lot of Indian customers that experience this when they come to the United States because the cows in India never had that genetic mutation.
Wow.
We've also gotten a lot of calls from customers across the country that say, at last I can eat cheese again.
Yeah. No, I notice a very quick difference from that. Just like how I tolerate a dairy product. It's not like a bad intolerance, but with the milk, I mean, I get no negative reaction out of it, no intolerance out of it. It's pretty insane.
That's interesting. And is that specifically with the raw milk or the pasteurized milk or both?
I haven't tried just the regular, but I just get the raw.
Yeah.
But I notice no sort of intolerance at all compared to when I've normally had milk, even if it's like a better milk, even if I'm, getting it from another farm in the past. I notice no intolerance whatsoever. And even like with my daughter, I looked out for it when she switched over. Nothing. I mean, it's unbelievable. I just feel like it's just being digested very, very well and absorbed very, very well.
We hear this a lot, and I think it has to do too. There's something like when your body has a protein and it breaks it down, it breaks it down into peptides.
Yep.
And so with A1 casein, it breaks down into a BCM7 peptide. And there needs to be more research on this, but it does all kinds of bad things in your body. Causes inflammation, causes digestive issues, causes neurological issues, all kinds of issues. And people just like swear off dairy, but it can be such a nourishing food if it's natural and designed and your body can digest it really well. So
yeah, that's what I feel like a lot of the research and narrative has come from dairy products being bad and inflammatory. I think it's just of a lot of the source of where it's been coming from, and I feel like outstanding drinking the raw milk. I mean,
Yeah, I've been drinking it for a couple months now. It's extremely delicious.
Yep.
It feels very nourishing. What would you say to somebody who's on the fence about raw milk, where all they know is pasteurized milk and they look at that as potentially harmful? So what would be your response to that?
raw milk has been vilified for so long. Like Big Dairy has done such a great marketing job of making people so incredibly fearful.
Yeah. It's very impressive.
It is.
It's impressive.
The fear
what
is
they've done.
impressive.
Yeah. But there are ways, and I mean, in the start, when it first started, the unsafe milk, you have to understand it was also the unsafe milk was coming from, again, cows being pushed into cities, living in unsanitary conditions, being fed on natural diets. It legitimately could have been dangerous, right? I get it. But there are ways to produce an ultra safe raw milk product. And that's the goal at Miller's, is to do that. But on the other hand, there's this psychological element to it.
Yeah.
And if you're really nervous about it,
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like,
don't do it. You know, don't do it. And maybe start with some other type of probiotic dairy. I mean, how did you feel about it when you started? How was your transition? Did you notice any changes?
Well, like I was telling you before the show, I went down this clean eating journey in September, and probably a month later, just another thing that popped up on something I could do to bring in more nutrients. Mark had recommended the raw milk, so it was just the next thing I tried, and I was all in from the beginning. You know, it was amazing. It was like if you never have raw milk before and then you taste it, you've never had real milk before. You know,
But it's also it's also the raw milk, but then it's also the Miller's Biofarm raw milk, where people, like, we have employees that come in, and they get food credit. So they take some home for the parents, and this is more outside the Amish community, and they take some home for the parents, and, like, Cameron, one of the employees, he was like, my dad just can't stop drinking it.
Yeah.
It's so good.
it really is. I mix it in with my protein shake. It's the greatest protein shake in the world.
Yeah.
I was talking about it with him because I'm not pushy with it. I've learned to just like sit back a little bit right now, knowing like my audience, who I'm talking to. Some people just aren't ready to, listen or talk about it. But when he was like transitioning all the stuff he was eating with, how I look at things when I eat them, it's like either I'm getting like good bacteria when I'm eating stuff, or maybe I'm getting stuff that's like kind of irritating my gut. So I just was talking about it with him, because I'm like, one thing that you can just add in that, whether it's yogurt, sauerkraut, kimchi, but I was like, one thing you can add in that's like part of your morning routine, and I was like, just give the raw milk a shot, like you'll understand. Because I just feel like every morning you should like almost start the day with, how do I get healthy bacteria in my gut for everything else that you're going to eat throughout the day, so everything's like, being absorbed much better. So yeah, I think it's outstanding. It's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One word of warning, though, to people, that not any raw milk don't just drink any raw milk. Like if the milk is from a conventional farm, they're not following the practices that a raw milk farmer might be. They might not be cleaning their cows as well, right? What else, Aaron? Why shouldn't you drink milk from a conventional farm, raw milk from a conventional farm?
You have these situations, that came up. I can't say which year it was, like 2007, somewhere way back in Oregon. There was this dairy that was selling raw milk that somebody actually really got sick.
Yep.
And what it was from was they didn't have any hot running water. They didn't have proper refrigeration. They didn't have stainless steel. It's all those things that take into account when you go to look for your raw milk farmer.
I think it's good for people to hear that, because what I come across when I'm talking about this with people, whether they're close to me or they're clients or, it sucks, but everyone just immediately just hear raw milk. But, I did my homework. The reason why I order from you is because when I'm reading into how you're doing things on your farm, I'm reading the process of what you're doing to make sure everything is done the right way. Don't you even upload like some of the bacteria in the batches?
We do, yeah. So we test every single batch that we bottle.
Yeah.
We have those test results, and that has been a huge help because it gives the staff and the bottlers and stuff, they know where they're at, and the farmers.
Yeah.
If you go on the website, you can see the monthly averages going back to 2018. And this is not required. This is not required for anything. Like all of our farmers have a raw milk permit in Pennsylvania, so we have to follow all of those rules. They're sampling, they're coming and sampling, inspecting. But testing on site is not required. And that's something Aaron chooses to do. It makes it kind of hard to find people who are, willing to go above and do that. But sometimes it's such a silly, simple thing that's making the results go crazy. And it not only, I don't necessarily think it's a safety issue, but it does make the milk go sour more quickly because raw milk will sour. What happened with the farmer who you were, who wanted to be a farmer and he couldn't get his test results down? He couldn't get his raw milk permit?
We had a farm last summer that wanted to come on board. One of the requirements is that they meet PDA's test requirements first, so they can get their raw milk permit, and he just couldn't get it. At last, he called me in. He was like, "Could you come help me out?" And so I went to help him milk. And from the get-go, I couldn't see anything. I mean, they were clean. I mean, we cleaned the udders. Everything was clean. Everything was super clean, actually. And as the morning went on, the children started coming out to help him, which is also a family farm. And then I started sitting back a little bit more, and then I saw, this cat. Okay, so they have a family cat, and the cat likes to lick the claws that come off the cow's teats. Likes to lick the inside because there's a little bit of milk there. And I was like, "Hey, guy, right there it is."
Yeah.
So he fixed it, and it was great.
Wow.
So the cat licking the milkers was causing it to have high bacteria counts.
Wow.
And he couldn't get his raw milk permit. And then you just remove the cat from the scenario. Test results are back to normal.
Yes.
Right? That was it.
Basically, the only missing thing was cat saliva.
Yeah.
That's a high level of transparency that you're showing, dating back to 2018, showing those receipts, which would be very not heartwarming, comforting for the consumer. Recently, I've been diving down, learning about more farming, conventional farms, organic farms, and regenerative farms. So for the audience that has no idea what a regenerative farm is, why don't you just educate us on what you guys do at the farm and some of your practices.
Aaron, you want me to answer?
Yep.
Okay. So the term regenerative, I think, has become a little bit confusing nowadays. I think it's become a greenwash term.
Yep.
I think it means a different thing to every farm that considers them a regenerative farm. I think to a consumer, when they hear the term regenerative, they're thinking Joel Salatin. It's people farming the exact way that Joel Salatin does. To millers and our farmers, some of them are Raymond, one of the egg farmers, is following that practice, but not all of them are. The idea behind regenerative farming is you're paying really close attention to your soil, and you're making sure that you are adding back to it or improving it year after year after year. So Aaron, I know you experienced this when you were first starting out farming on the main farm, the main dairy farm, where our orders are packed, and the difference it made. Like, you want to talk about that and the difference it made?
Sure. So when we first started, I had this vision of 100% grass. We first fed grain, matter of fact, back in 2009. And we switched that around like 2012 or so, where we went 100% grain free. And there weren't very many resources around, so I was kind of on my own. And we had so much we had a big challenge with like lame cows and some of those things. So at last we got this guy in that said he can help us. He can help us with our soil. He can help us, with nutrition. And we did. And it was like a 3-month turnaround where it went from lameness to like very healthy, and then the I had oats as cover crop, which we like to graze our cover crops, and I was certified organic back then. And the inspector, she came around, she was like, and so according to your records, you're 100% grass. And I said, yeah. And she said, well, I can't believe this. I mean, if it wouldn't be for your records, I won't believe you, because I, inspect hundreds of farms, and I've never seen animals that look this healthy. And it was just 3 months afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
And that soil specialist tested the soil, right, and found out that you were deficient because the soil hadn't been managed for so long, right?
Yeah,
the soil was deficient.
Well, it was deficient, but what was really interesting, it was deficient in some micronutrients, but it was also very deficient in manure.
And the microbiology in there, too.
Yes, which manure creates microbiology. It's amazing when like I will say, you have understanding ag, you have some of the other, whatever you call them, guys out there, and they see tremendous results, especially, in some brittle environments. But for us, we've seen a lot of results, but it's not near as huge as some of the guys out west or Midwest or even outside the county. And the reason for that, I think, is because of all the manure that's been used over the years within, like back in the 1950s when the Amish started moving into that area where we're at, they say a crow need to pack its lunch, because there's not enough of food around. So they've gotten that throughout the years with manure biology and so forth.
And then the better the soil, right, the better the plants. And then the better the plants, the healthier the animals. The healthier the animals, the healthier the food you eat. Yep. And we've heard from our customers that are like, I don't need to eat as much when I cook your food. Yeah. And I think it's because they get filled up. Their body's nourished more quickly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's crazy the differences, too. I just visited Daniel Smucker, our one chicken farmer. He's incredible. He's like super into regenerative on a deep, deep level. And he moved onto this property, might have been 2-3 years ago. When he first moved on, the soil was not being managed in a regenerative way. And he showed me a part of the property, and he pulled up like an alfalfa plant. He's like, look inside the stem. What do you see? I'm like, it's hollow. He's like, yeah, that's because this soil over here that I haven't been on, this is deficient. And then he pulled up alfalfa from the part of the pasture that he actually has his animals on. Solid.
Wow.
And you could just see the dandelion leaves were bigger, like as he started pointing things out, like the amount of bugs, everything. And the healthier, it's just getting managed properly. And our meat and our eggs and our milk and everything is more nutritious because of that. It's so important.
And then on top of everything, Marie said something about, the people and the animals and all those. But one thing I missed a while back was that the manure is even more nutritious.
Yeah.
Oh, right, with the corn.
We had a neighbor that wanted some of ours, so we said, yeah, we can do it. Or he actually did it. He pumped it over there, and he did half of his field with ours and half of it with his. And from a half a mile away, you could see the difference in the crop.
Now you're saying
this is like the farmer next door.
You're saying though because of how you feed the cows.
Yes, because of all the nutrients that are passing through, and it was taller, it was greener, it just looked better.
You could really see it. Aaron pointed out to me, you could see it from far away. So it's like the soil, the better the soil, the better the plant, the healthier the animal, therefore the healthier the manure, right? The more dense the manure, and then
therefore more earthworms.
Yeah, and
this.
it's a cycle. The other thing we do, I don't know if you don't do this on purpose, but if there's like, let's say extra whey when you're straining out the Greek yogurt, you put that in the manure pit.
Yes.
And that raw dairy goes onto the fields too, and that adds to the microbiology, the things you can't see. I think that really makes a big difference. All the farmers do that too. They all put their whatever in their manure pit.
Have you thought about making protein powder from that?
Can you find us a protein powder maker? Because we would totally do it. It's just really, find us a maker.
All right. I'll get it done. Can you add that to the website? Can you ship me some manure? So if I start a garden in my yard?
No. You know what? We get asked this every single year. We have a lot of Indian customers because of the A2 thing. And they really honor cows. And there's, I forget which holiday it is, but once a year, we always get asked for manure.
Wow.
Can you send some manure with my order? Because it's part of this celebration that they have. And we always have to say no because of food safety.
Yeah, wow.
After a while, we'd ship at UPS, right? And, on their conveyors and stuff, they, all of a sudden would fly off and would split open.
Oh, my God. So funny.
Would your cows be labeled grass finished since they've been fed grass their entire life?
So
why don't you use that?
For dairy, grass-fed and finished isn't a thing with dairy.
Yeah.
With dairy, it's 100%. Well, we're 100% grass-fed. Labels in stores, you'll see grass-fed. That doesn't mean they're not fed grain. Even the grass-fed certification, I forget what it is. It's like
they only need to eat an hour a day of grass, and they can say it's grass-fed.
Yeah, and you can feed pseudo grains. Like there's grain like corn and soy, but then there's pseudo grains like canola.
Yep.
I forget what the other ones are. So just because it says grass-fed doesn't mean 100% grass-fed. Our cows, all the cows, are 100% grass-fed. And then the term grass-fed and finished, that's specific for beef. So our beef is grass-fed and finished, which means the cow, oftentimes you could see grass-fed beef. They could be fed grass their whole life, but then they go and they're fattened up on grain right before they're before they're harvested. So that's grass-fed versus grass-fed and finished.
That's another way how I've been able to identify how your beef is, like the fat content. I could the taste, how much fat is in it, because other places I've just seen the difference in how it's just the detail is so fine, but I can tell the difference when the cow is eating grass. It's a big difference. Yeah.
Do you guys know the nutritional differences between a conventionally raised piece of steak and one from your farm?
I don't know it off the top of my head, but it's like higher CLAs, just higher in nutrients, higher in a lot of things.
Yep.
You could Google it.
I mean, you're 100% grass-fed. There's probably 3 elements to that, and that's the CLA, the vitamin A and vitamin D. Or both, or all the 3, I would say, are probably, maybe the vitamin K too.
And the Bs. Yeah. It's a lot of things. It's just everything heightened, right?
Yeah.
I just think, they're just eating they're always going to eat a lot, but they're eating a lot of, we were talking about this, I was like, because everyone always asks, and everyone's different, but everyone always asks beef, chicken, or, pork, and I always say beef, because I'm like, they're eating more nutrients for you, because they're eating a lot. I was like, the chicken's eating, but I'm like, he's not eating as much as the cow. So my point is they're eating so much nutrition from the grass, which is growing from you paying attention to the quality of the soil. So I just think that really, really, really matters. Yeah. So
the beef being, speaking of chicken and pork, I think it's one thing that actually is really special about our farm because our farmers, they're not just buying feed from any old feed supplier. Yeah. They're really paying attention and working with feed suppliers that are paying attention.
Yeah.
And they're working with them. And our feed suppliers aren't just buying in grain from a wholesaler as much as they possibly can. It does happen every once in a while. If it happened, it would be certified organic, right? If we're low on something. But they're working with farmers that are growing the grain. There's these direct relationships, this direct chain of people knowing people. Yep. And I think it really separates our chicken and pork from other chicken and pork. And it makes it more nutritious. Yep. There's actually been testing done on it. And it's that we didn't know what was happening, but it happened. And it is more nutritious than
Yeah.
than other chicken, you know? And so it's kind of cool.
What did they say about the chicken? Like it was a 1-on-1?
The 1-to-1 omega 6-to-3 ratio on the chicken was like the person, Dr. Stephen Van Vliet, tested it. This was without us knowing. He just like bought our chicken and tested it. He's a researcher. And it had a 1-to-1 omega 6-to-3 ratio. And he's like, I have never seen this in pastured chicken before. How did you achieve this?
Yeah.
And so we ended up connecting and
Yeah, they're
doing
usually
more
like
stuff.
10-to-1, 15-to-1.
Even with pastured, the best he saw was 8-to-1, I think,
Mm-hmm.
before he tested our chicken. So, but yeah, conventional will be a lot
Yeah.
higher.
And that's like a big, cause, I mean, that's just eggs, but that's like in a lot of products, and it's a big problem with health in general.
We want that 1-to-1 omegas 3
Yeah,
to 6
it doesn't need to be like 1-to-1. I think it should be like 2-to-1. That's what I learned a lot about. But just like from the eggs and everything else that we're eating, you know, from the grocery store or eating out, I think in the American diet, it's like,
I heard it was 20-to-1.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's
Based of all
20-to-1.
the seed oil products that we
Yeah.
ingest.
So when I was in school, it was 15-to-1. So 8 years ago, yeah. So now
It's
it's
changed
going
that
up.
much.
Yeah, it just keeps going up and up and up.
Well,
You know,
we've been going the other way.
yeah.
That's
No.
true. That's so true because you're like, yeah, we've been the first farms to like go soy free, then the first farm to go corn and soy free, at least in our area. It has just been getting better and better. Our feed supplier, when he found out that the eggs were a 4-to-1, he's like, how can I make it better?
Yeah.
You know,
What do you mean by feed?
feed meaning the chickens. So the chickens the chickens are pasture raised. We only grow chicken when the pasture's growing. Laying hens do go inside in the winter. There's no pasture for them to eat. Pigs are raised in the woods, but they do need some type of supplemental feed in addition to what they forage for. So our feed suppliers are the ones that are making the feed for us.
What's in the feed?
Oh, okay.
No
This
grain.
is, I should look it up.
As soon as you mentioned feed, I
Beef?
thought of grains.
No, so beef are ruminants. Cows are ruminants. Goats or buffalo, right? They can be naturally 100% grass fed and finished. Chickens and pigs are not ruminants, so they do eat grain. Like a chicken naturally, what are they gonna? They're gonna eat bugs. They're also gonna eat like the seeds off of plants.
Yep.
So we do feed them grain, which is I think a good thing. So let's see what's in our chicken feed. The chicken feed is wheat, peas, barley, fish meal, which is from sardines, little fish, flaxseed, kelp, and then like vitamins and minerals that gets added in there. Yeah.
That's on the dialed-in plan, right?
Yeah.
The other thing about this 100% grass fed, I had a very close friend that moved to Missouri. He was a dairy farmer. He was 100% grass fed, and he moved out there and he said, you know, Aaron, I just cannot get my cows 100% grass fed out here. He said, there's no earthworms. There's no biology basically. He said back in Pennsylvania where you are. Oh, we just had this golden opportunity, and I actually hear that a lot outside of our community. It depends a little bit where they're at, but if they go south, it seems
Florida.
to become more of a Florida.
They can't do 100% grass fed. It's really hard in Florida.
You're right. Yep. It seems like sandy soil and some of that biology. It's just like upstate New York, they're doing it a lot.
Yep. So that's a good way to, because I think people are waking up a little bit more about, like what we're talking about. Like, well, you're eating beef, you're eating chicken, but what are they eating? Right? And, you farm in a certain way to, you're very transparent about that. You want to make sure the product is really healthy. And on the flip side of that, how hard is it to farm the way that you farm compared to conventional farming? How difficult is that? And has it gotten more difficult the more popular you've gotten trying to, create more without it messing with the quality of what you're, doing?
In my mind, it's so simple.
Okay. Yep.
But if you grew up on a conventional farm and you start out that way, and you kind of pave the way, it's hard to change. But there again, I see a lot of farms coming up, that are putting their farms in the grass instead of corn. And the reason for that is the younger kids, the younger generation wants to farm. So, and they're like, oh, we love the 100% grass fed. You know, we don't like all these chemicals and some of those things. Now, what was your question again?
Like, you're farming in a way for quality, and do you feel that is harder?
Is it harder to be a natural farmer nowadays?
Yeah.
Or is it harder to be a conventional? Like, why are so many people choosing conventional still?
Yes.
Right? Is it so hard to farm naturally?
Because that's that's the narrative. The narrative is it's not sustainable to feed this state on a mass scale farming in that way. Even though I disagree.
I disagree.
Yeah, I disagree strongly.
For me, it's simple. For me, it's easy. Now, I've been in it since. I mean, I guess my heart's been in it for over 20 years. So I've physically been in it since I was 22. So I'm not sure how to answer that.
Well, so I think we have to think about it too. Like, is it easier? Okay, when you think about conventional farms that are producing cheap food, how are they doing it?
Yeah.
Right? So they're scaling, they're making their farms like super mega, hiring really cheap labor to do it. Oh, sorry. They're trucking in. How are they fertilizing their fields?
Yep.
Where are they getting their feed from? They're buying in corn. They're buying in soy that's been trucked from somewhere else. How are those fields getting fertilized? Not naturally with manure. Those cows are not on the manure.
They're using fossil fuels, right?
They're using petrochemical fertilizers that are trucked in from who knows where. There are more natural versions, but either way, like, why are you trucking all this stuff to fertilize your field when you have animals that are producing the fertilizer that you need? Why not just make it a cycle? But anyway, so there's a lot of trucking involved, but it's easier, I guess. Is it less time, right? You just, okay, I know predictable. It's predictable.
Yeah.
Yes.
At this time of year, I know I need to put fertilizer down. Then a month later, I'm going to put my chemical down. Then I'm going to plant my seed. Then I'm going to, you can plan ahead and you can schedule it. And I guess it makes it cheaper that way. I think with natural farming, you need to have a more direct connection to know, hey, this field needs a cover crop this year, or hey, we've got to put the cows on this pasture now or not on this pasture because it's too wet. So I think maybe needs to be more human involved with natural farming.
Yes.
You think that's true?
Yes, I do think that's true.
Yeah.
And we have, talking about, all these soils and stuff, I have a very close friend that does, some fertilizer and stuff. He actually, that's their business. They mix, fertilizer and they get together, whatever. And he says it is amazing to him when he sees guys, glyphosate, they use a lot of glyphosate.
Yep.
Their mineral content, their soil is so low, so many times. So, regenerative is a win-win. We have customers, the number one reason people come is because of, what is it, like additives in their food and
They're tired
intolerance of so many things. And so the regenerative thing is just a win-win.
But when a farmer gets into it, the yields that they get are higher than doing it conventionally.
They can be, yeah.
They can be.
Absolutely, they
but
can
it's
be.
not an immediate satisfaction.
No,
I
oftentimes
just think
it's
it needs
not.
more tender, loving care.
It's going to take time.
Yes.
It takes years to do it. I think it's also interesting, there's a general belief in us, what we call the English culture, the not Amish people, that if I'm getting food from the Amish, it's going to be natural.
Yeah.
But that is so not true.
Yeah.
I was surprised by it when I first found out. But there's a movement within the Amish community, at least the Amish in Lancaster, where more and more people, they're seeing sickness in their community and they're like, we've got to go back to our roots. We've got to go back to this more natural way. And so there's a movement of more and more people transitioning their parents' farms that are passed down back to being natural, back to more regenerative way. It's great.
Yes.
Yeah. Anything else?
No, I just think I think it's just like this in general. There's always a pendulum, I feel like. Maybe, 60, 70, 80 years ago. And, I feel like that's kind of how the bad stigma came from the raw milk during the industrial age and everyone, trying to move closer to all these buildings, and so I just think the pendulum is changing again, and I think that's where a lot of the problem came from. It's we have this mass farm with 50,000 chickens, and and I just think we lost our tender loving care, and it came at also the benefit of, we can make everything a little bit cheaper, and we can get all these eggs out, and and I just think it just got far off the path. I just think now the opportunity has really come about where people are just like opening their ears a little bit more now, and I think we should just be focusing on that more. I mean, you're talking about someone like me or like my wife entertaining and the idea of, why can't we move and get 10 acres or 20 acres or 30 acres, and why don't we try to learn how to, do or start a farm? You know what I mean? So, and I think your situation is an example of how important it is that it's not just you alone. It's this, 50-mile, 80-mile, 100-mile community of farms working together to do that. And I think that's how our food should be done.
We need to bring it back to a human scale,
Yeah.
right? And it is more expensive to do it that way.
Yep.
But I don't know.
It's also more fulfilling.
Well, it's more fulfilling, but like it's more expensive now. Like for me to eat my meal right now, it's more expensive. But then I think about like
It's the right way.
Well,
I
but
mean,
you're not spending as much on healthcare later because you're avoiding problems that you could have in the future. You're avoiding the problem of your soil being destroyed on a farm.
Yep.
You're regenerating it and you're creating wealth for later, but you're paying more now money wise. So I think it'll pay back later.
Yeah.
It all makes sense. It all evens out.
I agree.
You either pay up front
Yeah.
for high quality food, or you pay on the back end with healthcare costs. Let's talk about your website. You guys put out a lot of great information through your blog. You also have healthy recipes on your site, and you have a lot of products. So why don't you just list a bunch of products that you guys sell, how our audience can purchase these products on your website, and then I want to hear about how you deliver, because you're delivering 4 hours away to my house from Pennsylvania. We want to hear about the logistics involved in all that.
Yeah, sure. We have so much food. It's so much. It's fabulous. So we have a lot of dairy. We have cow dairy, goat dairy, and buffalo dairy. For cow, we have both raw and pasteurized. We know that not everyone's there. And so we want to offer the best of both and make sure it's your choice 100%. And like milk, yogurt, butter, kefir, cheese. What else am I missing? So many. Sour cream, cottage cheese. What do you want? Like we have a lot of dairy. It's all for cows and buffalo, 100% grass fed. For cows, it's A2A2. Okay, so that's dairy. We also do eggs. It's pastured corn and soy-free eggs. We have grass-fed and finished beef, corn and
Bought
soy.
4 cartons of eggs this week just to hop in and tell you.
How were they? Were they
Oh,
great?
they'll arrive tomorrow.
Okay, great. I'm so excited
But they
for
were
you.
great last week.
Eggs, yeah, beef, pork, chicken, turkey, lamb, salami, really good salami. We do bone broth. What else am I missing? Produce. We do produce,
We
fresh.
did a little bit of produce.
A little bit of produce, fresh and fermented produce, all seasonal.
I want to hop in on the bone broth. I purchased your bone broth, but you didn't show the macros. I was curious to see if it has the same protein content as the commercially bought one I usually buy.
That's a great question. I don't know. We do have like a nutritional guide on the website where we're comparing to products. Oftentimes those nutritional labels, by the way, those foods are not tested for that kind of stuff. It's just like you plug it into like
It's like a database of like serving size,
Yeah.
8 ounces, and they refer to that, and everyone kind of just copies and pastes basically.
it's like within 20% accurate,
Yeah.
So, but that's a big, yeah. But actually our broth maker is having the broth tested soon because he wants to make the broth even better than what it is now. So we're going to know that answer really soon. So if you join our mailing list, you'll find out at some point. Yeah. We have broth. What else? I don't know. So much. Oh, kombucha and honey. So much food. And it's all local from really small.
You sell kombucha in the liquid form, or I have no idea about kombucha.
Oh,
but I want
We
to
kombucha?
did, yes.
Yeah, it's delicious. It's bubbly.
Fermented tea, correct?
And bees are on the farm.
You sell honey.
Raw honey. Lots of raw honey. Yeah.
And I noticed you got macadamia nuts.
Those are from Hawaii. So those are like one of the few things that is not local. We have a direct connection to a farm in Hawaii.
I mean, if you're going to get macadamians, you got to go to Hawaii for it.
They don't grow in Pennsylvania, that's for sure. Yeah.
Well, the other thing we missed on there was like the einkorn baked goods.
Oh, right. We do
Some
have a
of
lot
those
of baked
items.
goods and like the kind like you might bake in your home
did
kitchen.
I
Like
try?
Yes.
Was it a?
Like sourdough crackers.
Was it a
garlic.
whoopie? Was it a whoopie pie?
we do have whoopie
Oh
pies.
my god, unbelievable!
I don't know much about pies, Mark.
You have no idea.
Pizza pies.
We have pizza.
Do you really?
Sourdough einkorn pizza.
Oh, you do?
It's frozen. You put it in your oven.
We also, talking about pizza, we also got shredded cheese and cheese, raw cheese.
Now, my thing with shredded cheese is it has cellulose in it. So what I don't imagine yours does. I'm not saying yours does.
no.
No wood shavings, none of that weird no anti-caking agents, which is why we freeze it.
You got to freeze it.
And you should keep it frozen too, and then just use it out of the freezer. Otherwise, it might turn into just a clump of cheese.
Yep.
My mom used to freeze American cheese, and I thought it was strange at first. But as soon as you defrost it for 5 minutes, it's back to normal.
It's back to normal.
Real quick, because you were just talking about one of the things you offered, the eggs. Does it matter if the egg is more orange?
No.
Yeah.
Well, no. But this is like
I know you guys know the answer to this. Yeah.
yeah, this is
Because
one-
I'll be honest. Me and my wife were like getting the eggs, and then when the color switch, I was like, whoa, what's going on here? But I noticed with your eggs, what I noticed the main difference between other eggs. I could be wrong. It's like when I'm whipping them, it's the density of the egg. They're so dense, it is crazy. But then I've read into what you guys were talking about, so I don't know if you guys want to touch on the color of the eggs because that's what everyone thinks right now.
the yolk color. Seriously, egg yolk color is one of the biggest greenwashing scams in farming history. Like once I found out about it, I'm like, how could they?
Yeah.
So little does everyone know, but all eggs in the United States, they're yellow or orange, not because of what the hens are eating naturally, right?
Yeah.
It's because they're adding things to the feed to make it a specific color.
Yep.
So marigold and paprika, those are like the natural thing. And, it's fine, but the chicken doesn't need it.
Yep.
It doesn't need it to live or to be healthy. It's just added to make the yolk that bright orange color that you expect from pastured eggs. Yellow eggs from the store, they're adding stuff. You can add like synthetic colors, all kinds of things to it to change
I thought you
the
had a
yolk
question,
color.
Claudia.
Yeah, I know.
Feel free to chime in if you have any questions.
Jump in, Cody.
We love your voice.
have a mic.
Oh my God. So about a year ago, we made big changes with our feed. And at that point, we worked with a new feed supplier to formulate this new feed. And we made the bold decision, we're not going to add any colorants to the feed. Oh,
Yeah, I can imagine.
it's been
What's going on?
It's been crazy.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of customer education over this because especially in the winter, they got pale. I remember you brought like deviled eggs that Rebecca made to work, and you showed me. You're like, look at this yolk color, right? They were like white,
Yeah.
basically.
Almost, yeah.
Almost white. Right in the Anyway, the worst time of year. So, what I love about this, we're calling them honest yolk eggs. So that people are knowing when they're buying it, like this is going to change in color. You're not going to know. So depending on what the hens are going to forage for, like I think it's like dandelion will make like an orange yellow egg. Chicory will make a different color. It's great. Now our farmers have this indicator of what the hens are eating. So when this change happened last year, our one farmer, his flock was having digestive problems. He would not have found that out had there been color in the feed, because the indicator was the yolk. They weren't eating as much, or maybe
the color was masking what was going on with the actual color of the egg.
Exactly. And so he was able to help them, of course, naturally, right? Heal and get that flock back to maximum health. And we know if the hens are healthy, they're going to produce the healthiest eggs for us, right? So it's a lot of education, but I think it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Right?
The other thing about it is any chicken, like, okay, so back in, when Weston A. Price Foundation, some of those groups started, they educated us. like the deeper color your butter is, the better. The deeper color your yolk is, the better. It means, you know, the vitamin A, beta carotene, whatever. So then this feed supplier came along, and he figured out if he adds paprika, whatever else, you know, it'll create this. So now any chicken farm, any 50,000 bird farm can get any dark colored yolk egg. I mean, it's like a
You
no-brainer.
want a red yolk? We can do that, right? You probably could do a purple yolk. You can make those yolks any color.
Yep. If you
Not
add,
with red number 5, of course.
Probably you
it's
could.
I would assume you could.
Let's give him
Yep.
beets. Yeah.
So the other thing on this journey is, you know, one was at our own table, at our own, you know, breakfast table. One of the boys said, "Oh, this egg looks sick," you know, because it was pale. It was right in our transition. I told him, well, you know, matter of fact, it's even more healthy. He was like, why? So I explained. After that, he was like, oh, cool. Okay, this is great. It's more healthy.
There is some psychology behind it. Other feedback we've been getting from customers that get the pale yolk eggs, like they don't taste as good as before. And I'm like,
No, they taste this.
well,
I noticed by the texture of them. They're the same. It's just the color. That's all it was.
it's psychology though,
Yeah, I
because
know.
we did a blind tasting
I
on the
know.
farm with dark orange, medium, and then light. And people tasted them and they rated the flavor. There was no taste difference between the three. So I think it's like a psychological thing that you think it tastes different if it's paler. I don't know.
No, I mean, for me, it was my memory of the orange yolk was I was up in my family's house in Cooperstown. My grandmother pulls into a driveway, just gets a carton of eggs from someone that she knew, and she cracked the eggs at the house, made me scrambled eggs. And I remember before she made them, she's like, "Whoa, look at the yolk!" Like and it could have just been those eggs at that person's farm, whatever the chicken was eating, just made the yolk more, you know, that color. But growing up, I just associated it with, oh, it means it's healthier. But it's really like, I could have went to 10 different farms in that area, and the color could have been like, you know, different. But, you know, I didn't know what the place was feeding them, right? So, but that was just my association, you know, with eggs for a while. And then just seeing, like, my wife's reaction, and then a lot of the people that I work with, the eggs that, you know, he might have been getting before he, like, transitioned to everything. You just associate, like, oh, no, yeah, this egg's good. It's nice and orange, and that's it. And you don't think anything of it. And you're paying 12.
Well, the other thing that we found out through that test is one of our competitors, I'm not going to name the competitors and the feed suppliers, but one of our competitors, you know, we tested their eggs, and they were actually worse off, and they were the bright colored, they were worse off than supermarket eggs.
Crazy. Wow.
So you know, I don't know for sure, but it almost seems like there's something else being put in the feed that's not 100% transparent.
Yep.
I love when you crack open an egg and you get 2 yolks inside the egg.
It's
Double
good-
the protein.
It's
the
good
best.
luck,
Just
too.
the best.
Yeah.
You guys
I
charge
usually
more
know.
for that? How do you do that? Do you engineer it like that? Is it luck? Take me through that.
They're usually the eggs usually bigger. I usually notice I'm like, there's gonna be twins in here.
You know what's funny is our egg farmers probably know when there's a double yolk because they candle the eggs. They there's a light when they're packing them. There's a light and they're looking for cracks in the egg. So they probably know if there's a double yolk and they're probably like, ooh, that person's gonna so lucky. You know, it's like a golden. Maybe we should have them put a golden ticket in there or something when you get it. Anyway,
So we spoke before the show about onboarding some of our audience to your website and having them be first-time customers. So how would they go about placing that order, and what is the code? And can you just kind of walk them through that?
So it's super easy. Just go to our website. It's millersbiofarm.com. It's an e-commerce site. You'll know what to do. Click shop now, sign up. You know, it's really, really, really easy. And we made a coupon for you guys. So
Thank you.
Yeah. So if you use the coupon DIALED in at checkout, you'll get 10% off your first order.
Nice. Awesome.
And then me and Mark would get an additional 10% off, which we would cut 5 and 5.
5 and 5.
You guys are going to split it. Yeah.
But we want to help get a lot of people through the door, and I think this is a good little entryway for that. Take me through the delivery process. You guys deliver every Wednesday.
How's that?
And
Stressful?
how far will you go?
Well, in your area, so we have different schedules. In your area, we deliver every Wednesday. So we deliver to all 48 lower states.
Wow.
Yeah. So on the eastern, it's UPS. Unless you're local to us, we're going to ship UPS to your door. And then if you're more local to us, we do have our own refrigerated vans and drivers, and we will deliver to your door. We also have a bunch of pickup locations. That's the most affordable way to get our food. And basically you're going, sometimes it's someone's house, sometimes it's a business, and you'll go there at the right day and time, and you'll go find your order, and everything will be labeled for you.
So like Mark's house would be the meeting spot if I wanted to go pick up.
Do you want a pickup location, Mark?
You can make it a pickup location. Yeah, absolutely. Nice excuse to come over.
We can do that.
Because a lot of people are going to give the excuse that, there's no good grocery stores in my area. But you guys are eliminating that excuse.
Yeah, you can just cut out the grocery store. Sometimes, even with farmers markets, when you're with dairy, especially with dairy, there's so much waste that comes from supermarkets and farmers markets, right? We're like not a lot of waste. Like we can bottle milk to order, right? And then whatever's left over, make yogurt, make cheese, make butter, use it for something else. And so it's a great way to, reduce waste in the food system and have better relationships with people, and be on the more human scale here.
So at checkout, they're going to enter the Dialed In podcast?
Yeah, at checkout, they'll see it. It's really obvious. There'll be a coupon spot, and just put in Dialed In, and then it'll 10% off.
Thank you.
Just make sure that you get your raw milk in the checkout.
Yeah.
And by the way, this is one thing we didn't cover. It's manure free.
And it's not for cats either, right?
Well,
It's not for cats and dogs?
If you get even pasteurized milk in the supermarket, I know how we milk cows when I was still a boy at home. I know how conventional guys milk cows. And it's just that they just get some of that in there, even
There's
if
always
it's pasteurized.
manure in conventional milk. Yeah.
And that was the reason of some of the pasteurization.
This is usually my defense for how you guys practice and do your raw milk.
He's got a lot of great defenses.
Because I'm like, listen, if you're worried about X, Y, and Z in this, I'm like, you need to keep that same tone with what you're normally eating. And I've done my homework with this stuff. I'm like, listen, go get your milk. Go get a pack of pork chops when you have no idea how long that's been sitting there, where it came from.
Bad pork.
I'm like, test the bacteria in that stuff, and you'll be quite surprised at what you're finding in there. So that's why I just fell in love with your raw milks. I know how long it's lasting. I can know by how it smells. I know by how it tastes, and just by all the information, how transparent you guys are. I just know. I'm like, there's no way me going to the grocery store, I'm getting anything cleaner than what you guys are doing over there. There's just no chance.
My kids, now, if we run out of milk, it's not okay.
Yeah.
If we get milk from the grocery store, they really won't drink it. It's a problem, It's a problem. And you can taste the difference.
Yeah.
I've been getting Greek yogurt from you guys, and I bought the raw Greek yogurt, which was another step in flavor. And the textures is unbelievable. It almost makes a noise if you put a spoon through it. It's active. Live. Is that what live culture sound like?
That's right. Well, have you gotten the bursting kefir yet?
I've not got the kefir. I got the colostrum.
Oh,
You proud of me for that?
good.
For that purchase?
Very proud.
Thank you.
That stuff is superfood. But the bursting kefir is named that way as a warning to people because it is extremely fizzy. Kefir is like the champagne of dairy.
Yeah.
And it can explode. So just as a heads up, we used to sell blueberry kefir. Oh, this poor person.
They celebrate and pop kefir. They don't pop champagne.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like kefir is the middle ground between milk and yogurt. Are you okay with that?
No.
No? Okay.
No, I'm not okay with that.
Yogurt's the middle ground between milk and kefir.
You think why do you say that?
Well, as far as from a probiotic and from a fizzy
From
flavor.
a fizzy flavor, fizzy perspective. Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
that's what I
two
would've
different
thought, yeah.
cultures, though.
Oh, okay.
But what Marie was talking about the lady in Massachusetts years ago when we did blueberry kefir. We shipped out, UPS. Apparently, they shook it a lot. When she opened it, she got this spot on her ceiling.
Wow.
Because it exploded.
Oh
then
my
we
God.
decided, we're not putting blueberry in there.
She sent us a picture, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I wish I could be there to help you clean it up." She was like, "The stain is probably there, still on her ceiling. How do you get that off anyway?"
Wow.
Poor person. Very
So,
fizzy.
I have a fun question. How and do you feel, Anton, like what are the pros and what are the cons to, like, for example, because you hear a lot of this going on in like certain states with avian flu and right, and I know that the chickens, they're not vaccinated. Why is it that you do that?
That we don't vaccinate?
Yeah.
Can you go?
Why don't we vaccinate
Well, because
any of
we
our
don't
animals?
because we don't believe in it.
Yeah.
But avian flu. Now, if you really want to get me, wound up, talk about avian flu and dairy.
I do, because people need to hear.
It is like the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Now, cows do get avian flu. Chickens do get avian flu. But they just go through a process with fever, and then they get over it.
Did you know they can naturally heal from avian flu?
Yeah.
That's what drives
And
me
they
crazy.
they were saying in December that the avian flu come through in the milk, and it doesn't. It comes through in the milk as dead cells, but the cells are dead.
Yeah.
And that's what they test off of.
Yep.
So
There's zero evidence that it can pass through the milk, right?
Well, there's zero evidence. I mean, it's not even a thing.
The only time that Miller's has had a food safety issue was with milk, and it was with brucellosis. And it was in 2018. Remember?
Yep,
Of course you
I
remember.
remember.
Of course you remember. This was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. And of course we take it seriously. Oh my gosh, someone got sick with brucellosis from our milk. Our cows were not sick. They were all healthy. Do you know what happened? One of our cows, which was bought in, was vaccinated for brucellosis and was still shedding the vaccine strain of brucellosis. How many years later?
5 years later, she was
5
vaccinated before she was a year old, and she was 6 years old when this came out.
Perfectly healthy, shedding the vaccine strain, got someone sick. She was taken by the CDC. I feel so badly for this poor cow. Who knows what's up with her now, to be studied, because why was she shedding so much? Anyway, that's the only time we ever had an issue, and it was caused by what the conventional food system is doing to try to reduce illness, right?
They're essentially giving it to them to create a response,
Yeah.
and then
And now the PDA, they used to recommend the brucellosis vaccine for cows, and now they after that incident, they no longer recommend it.
That's right.
Wow, unbelievable.
That answer provided validation for you and all of your naysayers over the years.
Yeah,
True or false?
because I just think. I mean, I've been eating. I eat your. There's just this big misconception with this stuff, and I just think. I used to get more mad. I don't get as mad. I just think people have values and they have a perspective, and they're constantly being fed a perspective, and I can't change anyone's mind. I don't want to change anyone's mind. But I just think for some people who are on the fence with this stuff and they get nervous about this stuff, I think it's good for them to hear, because it's just like, I hear this stuff and I eat your stuff every day, 3, 4, 5 times a day, and I've been doing it. And I don't, the way that they talk about this stuff and the perspective, it's just a lot of fear-mongering type things. And I think it's silly. I don't think it's right to people who are responsible and like farming the right way. And I just think they don't even really understand or know what they're talking about. So
I think it's too, like, the whole idea of vaccinating animals, like chickens is a great example. If you're CAFO farming and confined, like thousands of birds in a confined building with not a lot of ventilation, okay? If there were to be a sickness in one of the birds, that can spread really darn quickly and could really devastate a farm. But when you're farming naturally and animals are outside and they're happy and healthy, like, there's really just no need for it anyway. So why are we, like, the benefit outweighs the risk? It just, to me, there's just way more risk to it vaccinating when You know, what's the benefit to it?
I think it's kind of like the cholesterol problem that me and Paul have talked about, and sodium. I think they're pointing the finger at the wrong thing, and it's a lot of these problems come from, a farm that is unsanitary. Cows that aren't being handled the right way, being treated the right way, and I think that's a lot of where these problems come from. And I think if we answered the question differently, it's like, oh well, yeah, how are they farming over there? Is every animal literally on top of each other, peeing on each other, and right? So I think that's more so the problem, and not the latter.
Agreed.
Yeah.
What other questions do you have for them? I know you have a long list.
I have so many.
And what else do you guys want our audience to know about your farm, the food?
Well, it's so interesting, when he was talking about animals, on top of each other and stuff. In the morning when we go out to bring cows in, it's not unusual to see foxes out there amongst the animals and stuff. They just enjoy it.
Yeah.
Actually, one time I know there were some fox hunters at our place, and they were trying to get this fox, and he ran in with the cows.
Oh.
Because he knew they're not going to shoot the cows.
Smart. Oh, wow. Look at that. They're smart. They're hard to get, right, the foxes?
Oh, yeah.
They're so sleek when they have all the fur.
Yeah. We usually put dogs in with our chickens, so they don't just eat them. They love chicken.
Saw a fox yesterday. Me and Nico saw a fox right by my house, yeah.
Yeah, I finally installed my camera at my house. And I get an alert at 7 a.m. I go, what is this going to be? Maybe it's the woodchuck, or it's a possum, or it's a raccoon, or it's just like a neighbor's cat. There was a bobcat that stood right in front of my shed. I couldn't believe the size of this thing. It was pretty big, to the point where I was like, is that a mountain lion? It wasn't. But I'm like, it was so big to the point where and my daughter's small. I'm like, I got to watch if my daughter's going out at 7:30 in the morning to just, if I tell her, yeah, you can go in the yard. This thing was pretty big. But would they attack a young? I feel like they might.
A bobcat? Have you ever had a bobcat on your property?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
We thought we had a bobcat on our property, so we put the trail cam out.
Yeah.
Turns out it was just a stray cat without a tail.
Yeah.
So now its name is Bob the cat.
Bob the cat.
But
Sketchy.
I don't think bobcats. Don't worry,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
gonna be just fine.
Yeah, I read they're very solitary. They just want to be left alone.
You're scared of it. It's scared of you.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to. It was so beautiful. I was like, maybe I'll just leave a piece of Miller's chicken out every morning for him, and yeah.
That would be. We do sell raw meat for pets. That would be perfect for the bobcat.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Do you have anything, Paul?
No, just
Give me a minute.
My go-to orders right now are your grass-fed ground beef. I just bought the 6-pack. I bought 5 Greek yogurts, the 1 gallon of raw milk every week, and then eggs. So those are my top 4 I'm going to buy
Beef,
every week.
Milk, eggs.
Anything I'm missing? What would you recommend I add to that order?
Well, now you should try the kombucha.
Yeah.
Since you don't know, if you haven't had it yet, you should. When my kids were little, they thought it was that's all they thought soda was. They didn't know soda. They only knew kombucha. It's delicious.
One ingredient?
It's tea that gets fermented with a culture of bacteria and yeast. It's very probiotic. And then it does a second ferment with juice, like a cold pressed grape juice or something like that. So it's like grape or apple, orange. I forget all the flavors that Verna makes, but it's delicious. It's just delicious. It's a great addition to your
And it's got
drink
the
menu.
probiotics.
Very probiotic. Great for your gut. I don't know. Everything's so good. It took me years, but I when I first started ordering from Aaron, this was a long, long, long time ago, I've tasted everything. Every order I would try one new thing. So I've tried every single thing that we sell. It took a while.
I'm getting there, yeah. I got a long way to go, though.
You sell Parmesan cheese. I'm in the market for a good organic grass-fed. I can't find any.
Can we do it, Aaron? You know the problem with Parmesan is it takes years
it's hard.
to age. So we'd have to start making it now. And wait, this is our problem. We're out of sharp cheddar. I'm so sorry, customers. Everyone's asking for it. But we need to age it for at least 1 year, probably 2 years to get it really sharp. And I don't know, like we just don't have any. You have to wait more than a year for more. There's some.
It's what has happened in the last 4 years. Demand for these products went up so much, and then sharp cheddar, you want more than a year, aging, and as time goes on, your inventory just disappears.
Yeah.
Till you don't have any more.
So that would be the problem with Parmesan. We could make some now. It would be ready in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, just leave it to
Yeah,
the
but-
Italians to keep doing it.
But then how do we keep it? I don't know.
Because when I went to Modena and I saw
So
how
good.
they make it and everything, and I'm like, wow, this is unbelievable. It was just like a warehouse, and I just couldn't believe how many wheels were in there. It was wheels and wheels, it was thousands. It was unbelievable. It's cool to see because you're just like, wow, like this is like the work that goes into it, and then they stamp it. It's like a whole crazy process. But I wanted to ask, like, what? Like, I would assume over the past 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, you just keep probably getting more popular, and a farm, like, is it really easy to tap out of product, and like how do you keep up with, supplying people who still want things, and has it gotten more difficult? Has it not?
Well, within the community, it's actually been getting easier and easier to get farms on board. Mm-hmm. From that perspective, now the challenge becomes, in the springtime, a cow really wants, any cow will give milk in the spring,
yep.
and any chicken will lay an egg because of the daytime length that towards springtime. And then summertime, oftentimes, because people go on vacation, so they might not use quite as much. And then the fall, they come in very strong.
Yeah.
And then that's when the animals start slacking off. So to meet that supply and demand can be a challenge.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it takes a lot of planning too.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Probably more than I even think it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
But I think you're just so used to it now.
That's right.
That it's just part of the process. But like we only grow chicken when the pasture's growing because it's pasture-raised chicken. So we need to plan to have enough by the last harvest in November to last all the way until the first harvest in June.
Yep.
This year it worked out. We planned well.
Well, we're out of whole chicken.
I know. But we still have chicken.
Yes.
There have been years in the past where there's no chicken and people are freaking out, and so
The chicken tenders go quick.
Yeah, they're gone.
Yeah, I keep trying to get them again.
So
but
chicken tenders?
Yeah.
It's like perfect because I just try to bread them and make them for my daughter, and I think I ordered it once or twice, and I can never get them again.
Well, they're coming soon. I think when
I just figured everyone
the first
probably likes
harvest
ordering.
Well, the first harvest at the beginning of June, but I'm not sure how many chicken tenders will come out of there. If you see them, grab them.
Yeah, it's true. Chicken tenders sell really fast.
Yeah.
They're not pre-seasoned chicken
No,
tenders.
no.
That's a great idea, though.
Yeah.
Well, it's a high demand product, and then pre-seasoning them on top. Maybe we just need to pre-season brass.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
I guess.
Yeah, we got to do something.
Do you make bread?
Yeah, we have einkorn sourdough bread. It's
You should make
delicious.
breadcrumb.
We do.
Do you really?
Einkorn sourdough breadcrumbs.
You have it on there?
We have it. You have to explore the baked goods section.
That's organic flour, obviously, you're using?
We're not certified for anything we don't legally need to be certified for. So the einkorn flour is from local Byler's Heritage Acres. They're not certified organic, but they could be if they wanted to. They follow all the protocols plus more. It's like beyond the organic, but yes, they're organic.
You'll know it if you.
Are they spraying their crops?
Einkorn, our einkorn?
Yeah.
So
We should talk about that.
They don't spray their fields with herbicides, pesticides, anything like that. They do use a foliar spray. So it's a spray that they spray on the plants
Is
to
that
make sure that they
related to
have everything they need. They make it themselves. It's like water, sugar, and like liquefied fish. And then they mix it together and they spray it on the plant. So it's not like it's nothing chemically.
I think it's a perfect segue to talk about, because we've spoken about this before, pesticides, herbicides.
Take a deep breath, Murray. Take a deep breath.
Because we try to, I get anxious buying fruit for my daughter, but one of the things that me and Paul were talking about one time is, I was like, I don't think it's as easy, especially with fruit, and maybe you can speak about, I don't know, other things that are being grown. I don't think it's as easy as saying, yeah, you can't, I don't want any, pesticide on any of my, fruit products, because I'm sure from the farmer's standpoint, there's difficulties with that. So I don't know if maybe you guys can touch on that and the perspective on that. And
there is no way, even at the farmer's market, there's no way to get fruit and berries that have not been sprayed with something. Mm-hmm. There's no way. Mm-hmm. A farmer just can't do it. First of all, you're not going to want to buy it with all these spots on it. Yeah. The consumer just won't want it. The only way to truly get that is to do it yourself, to grow your own fruit trees and grow your own berries if you really, really want that.
But wouldn't I essentially run into the same problem anyway? I would assume at some point, there's going to be certain things on there.
You would totally run, and then you'd understand why all the farmers do it, Mm-hmm. So the problem, though, there's like organic fruit, mm-hmm. and then there's another category that not very many people know about, which is called IPM, and that stands for Integrated Pest Management. Most of the fruit that we offer, if we have an option between like apples that were grown that are certified organic or apples that are IPM, we go for IPM.
Okay.
So what's the difference between the two? So certified organic means that a farm is spraying on a schedule, no matter what. And there's like this list of OMRI, right? Is the name OMRI approved pesticides and herbicides. Those are the ones that are certified for organic. And the list is thousands of products long. Mm-hmm. And it keeps just getting longer and longer and longer and longer. It's kind of just like the same thing as conventional at this point, mm-hmm. So they're certified organic. They're spraying on a schedule. Every May 1st, they're going to spray this. Every June 1st, they're going to spray this. Right? And they're spraying. But an IPM farm, they're only spraying when needed.
Okay.
So they see, okay, we're seeing more of this bug. Mm-hmm. We're going to spray for it. Oh, there's a little bit of this mildew. We're going to take care of that. Mm-hmm. So when you buy IPM fruit, it doesn't need to be on that certified organic list, but you're actually getting less pesticides and herbicides on your produce if it's IPM.
Got it.
You ever heard of that term? And where would we find that term before purchase?
On our website, at least on our website, for produce, it'll say underneath whether it's certified organic or IPM. We'll tell you the growing standard. We also tell you where it comes from. We try to do as local as possible, like most of us from Jonathan. Mm-hmm. But either way, we'll tell you on our website. We have so much information. It's almost too much information, but everything's there.
No, you guys have a great blog too. It's people should definitely check out. There's a lot of information that's helpful to them. I know we pulled some of the questions right from the blog. Any parts of your website that you want to further amplify, or any blog posts that you want to touch on?
Well, I know that our most popular blog post is how to know if there's chlorine on your chicken.
Just saw that this morning. Paul Saldino was at Costco talking about how
seriously?
Their chickens end up with 7% chlorine content.
That's crazy.
That's right. Most of the chicken, I know. Most of the chicken. So if anyone is wondering, there's this term in the meat world called washing the meat. Mm-hmm. It's not like you're getting a soap and a sponge and you're washing the meat. It's after meat is slaughtered. All right, beef and pork are hung. That's how you get aged beef, right? And the USDA requires them to be sprayed with an antimicrobial. That's washing the meat. With chicken, they often go in a bath together, right? And they can spread disease from one to the other. So they require an antimicrobial in the water in this ice bath for the chickens. That's called washing the meat. And on chicken, it's like most chicken, it has chlorine on it. We are so lucky. We have for beef and pork, our processor uses organic apple cider vinegar as the wash. And for chicken, our chicken is air chilled, which means it's not washed in anything at all. It's just water that touches it, which is pretty cool.
Unbelievable.
Can't win.
Yeah, when I hear shopping is being done from BJ's, or Costco, I'm just like, oh my God. Yeah.
And we wonder why we're all sick.
Yeah, I know. I'm just like, it's unbelievable.
What do you order from the farm every week?
Milk.
Milk.
Milk for sure. I cannot I cannot run out of milk.
Yeah.
So milk, eggs, butter. These are things that I always have stocked. I always have milk, butter in the freezer, broth, chicken broth. I always have chicken broth. What else do I order, Aaron? You don't see my orders anymore. Why am I asking you?
Aaron's not on the computer taking orders, I don't think.
But yeah, those are my like main. So it's dairy and eggs. I mean, I get meat too, but like that's changes based on what my family's into.
I'm getting the
And
raw.
the sourdough einkorn crackers are also incredibly delicious. They're so amazing. So I often get those.
Check them out.
I have one more abrasive question about antibiotics.
Okay.
How do you go about? How does that? Because that's another. I feel like it's along the same line.
Can I add a
as-
fun fact about
Yes.
antibiotics? 70% of the America's antibiotics are fed to conventionally farmed animals,
Yep.
the cows,
That's crazy.
Yeah.
because of the feed that makes them sick.
Well, it's like imagine if we did this to our kids where we're just like, oh, we're just going to feed you antibiotics every day, as a preventative measure so you don't get sick. Like that's what we do to our animals.
I see it happen like all the time, like with the antibiotic, like being given, and I read a few research studies, and I mean, there's even like some cases that, especially like with kids, it takes up to like 1.5 to 2 years for their gut biome just to recover, and that's just off one round of antibiotic. Like that's just one, and I see numerous occasions, like round after round after round after round, in the year. It just, I used to get more mad at it. I don't, because I'm just like, they're just being fed a certain information and they're just listening. But, it made me curious about how do you go about and handle that, maybe with beef.
Like if there was a problem is what you're asking
Yeah,
about.
exactly. Yeah.
Well,
What's your stance on that? What's your perspective on that? How do you handle that problem? Why don't you give antibiotic, or you do? I don't know. I'm just asking.
Well, the only time I've given antibiotic was back in 2010, spring of 2010. We had this, but that didn't even help her. Right. We had this virus go through our herd of cows.
this was a new herd though, too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Well, it was a new one with 3 different ones coming together.
You bought in all these cows when you were just getting started.
So I'm just giving an example for me. So we had, out of the 30 we had 4 that died, just all of a sudden, like in 2 days' time. And so, I about panicked. And there was one more that really had it. So we put her on antibiotics. We were like certified organic on the milk trough back then. And one of the neighbors came over to me and he said, I had the similar experience years ago and I gave them salt. I'm like, oh. So I get a handful of salt and she was like hanging her tongue and puffing and she had pneumonia. And so I gave her salt and that got her started drinking. She started drinking. I gave her more salt. She started drinking even more. And then after a while, she started eating. And that's how we got her back on feed. That was the most, yeah.
Wow.
I wouldn't even do antibiotics. We do use a lot of homeopathic.
Preventatively too, right?
yes.
Homeopathic to prevent things.
Yep.
And with our farms, they often don't have those issues. Where the majority of those issues come in is one is feedlots,
Yep.
where they're together in not very good conditions, like a lot of animals together. And the second one is if things run through sill barns. Sill barns are known notoriously for those types of things, like chucking them out and then bringing them back in and buying in more animals into your herd, some of those things. So those are a lot of preventatives that we would use.
Cool.
And if there's one that a farm actually gives antibiotics, they will need to sell that animal off the farm, get it off the
We
farm.
would never, right? I don't even know when it's happened, but if an animal were to need antibiotics, it would not be used for food.
Yeah.
It would be removed and not be used for food.
That's also one of the certified organic standards is you can actually do it, but you need to remove that animal.
Yeah. Yeah, because I read something, a situation like that, talking about antibiotic, and they were saying that cow gets sick, they get given antibiotic, and that they immediately take the cow and just, slaughter it, get product out of it, and now you're eating that product when it was just given, X, Y, and Z.
You wouldn't believe in the conventional food world, you wouldn't believe, and now I don't know what they do with those animals, but you wouldn't believe what I've seen in some of those trucks that go for slaughter.
Crazy. Unbelievable.
It is
like
crazy.
The condition of the animals.
The condition. And, there again, I don't know what they were going for. If they were going for pets, if they were going for human, I really have no idea at this point. But not very good condition at all.
No.
I wonder, too, how much it affects us. Like, my oldest is almost 13. And he hasn't, like a lot of the other kids, have spurted. They've had this growth spurt. Their voices are deeper. They're growing hair. My son hasn't. And a lot of, I've been talking to my friends who have kids around the same age, and it's all the same thing. It's like, no, they haven't spurted yet. Why? And I'm wondering, is it because we're not, eating the food from animals that have been fed hormones? How much does that affect things? And how much
you're seeing that a lot more prevalent right now with children and puberty and how early it's coming on. And there's a huge prevalence in that right now. And
there's also in big production like chicken, there's also these antibiotics that they can put into the water system, for them as a preventative. So they're all over the place.
They're putting antibiotics, not for chickens, not hormones for chickens, but often vaccines, things like that. It's just part of the flow. It's just part. It's not.
That's right.
It's not a treatment for anything. It's it's just part of.
But not at Miller's.
The process. Not at Miller's. No.
That's awesome, and that's that's the whole reason why, in Europe, they don't have to. They don't refrigerate their eggs, and that's why, right? Because everything is required and vaccinated.
Yeah, in Europe, I think it's E. coli or salmonella. I forget which one it is.
I think it's one of those two.
It's one of those two. It's required that all laying hens are vaccinated in Europe, which means they don't wash the eggs, which means the bloom, the protective coating is still on the egg.
Okay.
And when you go into the supermarket, the eggs are not refrigerated. It feels really weird when you're there, but that's just normal.
So when you get eggs there, though, you should wash them.
Well, why? Well, that's a good question. I mean, no, I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
In the United States,
I didn't when I ate eggs there.
Yeah, I don't think you have to.
Okay.
I mean, what are you washing off anyway?
No, I don't. I usually
Wash away your
don't.
sins, Mark.
Is there a time and place when you should when you should wash eggs?
If they have poop on them.
Okay.
Our eggs actually are. Well, we can't say they're unwashed because some of them, if they do have visible dirt, they'll get washed. But every once in a while, just like a double yolk, you might get a feather. Yeah. Which is really exciting. But the eggs are only washed if needed.
My mom gives me her eggs sometimes, and there's literally feathers all over them, and it's funny. Yeah.
My daughter cracked 5 eggs for me yesterday. She broke 3 of the yolks, which is a higher percentage than me. Usually I'll break all 5.
Oh my God.
Anything you want to say in closing? I want to say, before you say it, I just want to speak directly to our audience and say it's time to dial in. It's time to remove yourself from the American food system. It's time to stop buying conventionally grown food and step up your game to a regenerative farm like Miller's Bio. So we're very grateful that you did this collab with us today, and I'm looking forward to continuing to get the nutrients that I need for my body from your place. So thank you for all that.
Thank you. I really was looking forward to you coming on here, being able to pick your brain. I care a lot about this stuff, so it was really cool that you guys drove all the way out here to do this.
Yeah, thanks for having us. This was really fun. Just having a nice conversation. What do you think, Aaron?
Yes, thank you for having us. I enjoy milking a cow, so if you ever want to tour the farm, just the address is on the website, and in the meantime, just go ahead and buy.
Right, milking is at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. every day. If you do not come during those times, it's pretty boring. So,
if I were to come there, would I ever be able to help out?
At this point, we do not necessarily take outside help for the farm. Okay. I know that's a request that we've gotten. Yeah. So
everyone wants to do farm chores. We should figure that out one day.
They think they do.
Yeah.
Well, actually,
for a day.
In the future, I think Now, I don't know if we'll get it accomplished before 2030 or not, but we want to create this farm where people can actually come gather the eggs, milk a cow, and some of those things.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to know more about their food, right? Everyone wants to be
Yes.
more connected. It's just like, how can they get more connected?
Yep.
That's right.
Awesome.
Aaron, your presence was felt greatly on this podcast. Even though our audience can't see you, I can assure that you're a very good-looking guy, and thank you for being the voice from above on this episode. So thank you.
Sure, my pleasure.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you for listening to the Dialed In podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode. We want to hear from you and help you even more. So please reach out and connect with us at the dialedinpodcast@gmail.com or hit us up on one of our social media accounts. And remember to stay dialed in and choose to have the most amazing rest of your day.